Can I overdo it on protein? Today we'll address the myth that we cannot digest or absorb more than 30, 50, or even 100 grams of protein in one sitting. And if that's the case, why do fitness professionals recommend so much more than the FDA? Are there health risks associated with eating a lot of protein? Recently, I've gone through many reviews by Dr. Mike Israetel, Jeff Nippard, and Menno Henselman as part of my ongoing protein research. They have covered many aspects of this topic by reviewing the scientific literature thoroughly. Their thoughts and conclusions have been helpful in summarizing this information for you. So how much protein do you need? And how much protein is too much? These questions must be answered in the context of your goals. A sedentary person that isn't interested in sport, muscle mass, or resistance training has one protein requirement. And those of you who want to perform well in their sports, build muscle, gain strength, and feel physically vibrant require a different approach. In the literature on optimal protein, most of the studies in bodybuilding and sports performance are conducted on athletes. The goal is optimizing performance, recovery, and muscle growth. And the subjects have similar abilities to synthesize protein and build lean tissue. Muscle protein synthesis can be measured. So the optimal protein intake is the amount that maximized muscle protein synthesis in these subjects. A common protein prescription in the fitness world is 1 gram per pound of body weight. A number of studies show that when you consume up to 1 gram per pound of body weight, you see more muscle protein synthesis. If you go over 1 gram per pound of body weight, you do not see more muscle protein synthesis. Therefore, it is said that this is the upper limit of how much protein you can consume to maximize muscle gains. This leads us to rule number 1. Consume 1 gram per pound of body weight, the upper limit of maximizing anabolism. Additionally, how much and how many times you eat protein in a day has also been studied around the desired goal of increasing muscle protein synthesis. The studies show that if you divide your daily protein requirement into 4 equally sized meals, you tend to max out muscle protein synthesis. Which leads us to rule number 2. 4 meals a day, the minimum number of meals that you can eat to maximize anabolism. So what does this end up looking like? Well, take 1 gram per pound of body weight, divide it by 4 meals, and you're gonna get how many grams of protein per meal per day, depending on your size. So for example, a 200-pound person would want to eat 50 grams of protein at each of their 4 meals per day. Now, some studies actually suggest 1 gram per pound is more than you need to maximize muscle protein synthesis. And actually, 0.85 grams per pound might be a better upper limit. But as you will see, 1 gram is a nice round number that ensures you'll get enough protein, and it won't cause you any harm. Similarly, it's hard to make an argument that eating 3 or 4 or 5 meals a day is superior. When we get into fewer or more than that number, we might not be maximizing muscle protein synthesis. But this might not be the only thing driving your nutrition and lifestyle choices. So how much protein can we digest? With some of these figures, you might be thinking to yourself that if you weigh 150 pounds, you shouldn't eat more than 40 grams of protein in a single meal. I mean, can we really digest this much? Digestion and absorption are very different than what the protein gets used for once it's in our body. We can theoretically absorb and digest as much protein as we can stuff down our throats. You could eat, digest, and absorb hundreds of grams of protein in one long sitting. How much of that protein will get used to build muscle versus just being burned as energy or stored as fat is another question. Think of it like Bill Gates and his wealth. Bill Gates earns more money each year than he could spend possibly in a lifetime. Just because Bill Gates can only reasonably spend $50 million in a year doesn't mean that he can't earn $50 billion. He can take in as much money as he wants, but he can only productively spend a fraction of that. The same goes for protein. We can sit down and digest 300 grams in a single meal, but only a fraction of that will go towards building muscle. The rest of it will be burned for the body's other energy-demanding processes, or the extra calories will just be stored as body fat. So if you need 40 grams per meal, according to the above figures, and you take in 50 to 60 grams in one meal, that doesn't cost you anything from a health or muscle perspective. It just means that you'll digest those extra grams of protein and put them towards other processes in the body other than muscle protein synthesis and anabolism. Now, what if I eat too little in one meal? Don't sweat it. You'll be able to make up for that in the next meal. These meal targets are good for optimization, but it's more important to make sure you don't miss your daily total targets. If you're a little under at one meal because you didn't have access to the best sources, then just make up for it at the next meal. On the other hand, it isn't a good practice to undereat protein on too many days. Generally, make it a goal to hit your daily protein targets consistently. So can we eat too much protein? In general, for healthy people, this is not an issue. When you overeat protein, it hasn't been shown in otherwise healthy individuals to cause health issues. Folks with kidney issues need to consult with their doctor specifically about their protein intake. Eating more protein does mean that if you're controlling for calories, you will need to consequently eat fewer carbohydrates and/or fat grams. Remember, those extra grams of protein will go towards energy, and that means you don't need as many carbs or fats for your energy needs. Here are a few reasons why you might not want to go over the top on protein. Protein is more expensive than carbs and fats generally. If you're on a budget, then just meet your daily protein targets and then fill your additional calorie needs with carbs or fats that are more cost effective. If we lower carbs as a result of excess protein, we might miss out on other performance and recovery benefits from our carbohydrates. If we lower fats as a result of excess protein, we might miss out on the hormone and recovery benefits of added fats. Okay, now you've heard the information, the context, and some practical applications. What are you still confused about? What questions do you still have? Drop me a note in the comments or head over to our website at functional-bodybuilding.com, use the chat bubble, and drop some comments for us and questions there. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for our free email newsletter for more resources just like this one.